Hi, Aaron. My name is Brietzke. It's nice to meet you and finally put a name to the face. I understand you're looking for potentially adding a book to your advanced sales education class. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about a book that I feel might fit your needs. Um, so by the end of this presentation, I'd really, I guess what I should say is the purpose of this presentation is really to just educate you on this book. I want you to, of course, I want the yes, but I more or less just want you to understand this book and feel what I feel from it. With that, I want to just make sure that I understand what you were looking for in a book. And I remember emailing you a couple days ago, and I asked you a few questions, and I just want to make sure I understand those questions properly. One point you made was you want a book that would help students better understand the sales process, and I think that is important. You don't want something that's just boring and students aren't really going to get anything out of it. You want something that's going to be beneficial to the students. That's going to help them learn about the sales process in itself. And this book, I think, will fit that because a lot of books, in my experience, it almost feels like the author is just talking at you. He's throwing a whole bunch of information at you and hoping some of it sticks. This book isn't like that. It's more like the author's talking with you. He's teaching you the information in this book, which I think is pretty cool because it helped me understand the information given to me and it helped me learn a lot more. Another point you made was about cost. You want the cost to be reasonable. You don't want it to be something, way out in left field with price. And this book in itself is not very expensive. I bought the book. I bought a copy of the book myself for just a few dollars. So you can get several of these books for the price of just one textbook. So you put that into perspective, you can get a lot of bang for your buck, especially when you read this book and understand the information in it. But another point you made was you don't want just another textbook. And this is definitely not just another textbook. As I mentioned before, textbooks to me are something more or less that's just a whole bunch of information being thrown at the wall and hoping some of it sticks, right? The wall being the student and the information being what's thrown at the student. This is not like that at all. This is more, like I mentioned before, that the author is talking with you. He's trying to teach you. He's not talking at you. He's teaching you the information given. So that's why I think this will be a really good benefit to your class because there's a lot of pros to this book. And to be honest, I don't see many cons to it. It's a couple years old, which may be the only objection to it that you may feel. But I think the information in it is still breakthrough information. It is still relevant information to today's sales processes. Sales processes in general have changed over the years. I mean, obviously, as technology grows, we go more towards technology, but there still are complex sales out there, business-to-business sales out there that salespeople need to learn how to deal with. And this book helps people learn that information. So with that, I'd like to dive into the presentation and talk to you a little bit about this book. So the book that I would like to present to you today is called Mastering the Complex Sale. It was written by Jeff Thal, and I think this book in itself will be a great addition to your book. More about the book. It was written by Jeff Thal, who used this. These were his ideas, right? So these were his tactics, his thoughts, his ideas that he used in sales, and it made him absolutely successful. It made him really so successful he became a CEO of a company because he used these tactics. A little bit more about this book. It uses breakthrough thinking strategies for business of sales. That's important, It's not just the typical traditional sales tactics that people use and just a different little bit of change in them. No, these are definitely breakthrough thinking strategies used in this book to help adapt to the new sales processes in today's world. It adds this text uses real life experiences from Jeff. Jeff, when he wrote this book, did an exceptional job talking about his experiences and his, moments in life where what he did and what he learned from those experiences. And I think that's very important because it helps the students connect. It helps the customer, so to speak, the reader, connect to this book more so. With that, why I think you should choose this text, there's several different reasons, but a few I wanted to point out today was relevance. Like I mentioned before, the objectives in this text are very similar to the objectives that you'll use, that a professor will use in teaching an advanced sales curriculum. I've taken your classes before, and when I read this book, I realized how much it actually relates to some of your classes and a lot of the things, and it was like, man, this is pretty cool. I'm actually thinking, you were teaching us all this stuff. You were giving us all these lectures and all this homework over this stuff. And here I am reading a book, and I'm learning some of this stuff too. I'm learning more. But it's not just the same stuff. It's more. It's expanding on it, and it's adapting some of the things you taught us, which is really cool. It's user-friendly, which I think will be very important for you and your students. The text is laid out in a user-friendly fashion, which means, what I mean by that is the chapters in itself are laid out in sections. So there's chapters, but there's also sections in the chapters which help keep things organized. That to me helps break things up so you're not just constantly reading, a 50-page chapter and hoping to catch all the information in it. Another thing that I like is that it's divided up into topics based on advanced sales. What that means is, obviously there's different topics, right? So there's different things that, not all, the whole sales process is the same thing. And it's broken up and helps break those things up, which is really nice. Another thing which I want to show you here is it breaks it up into, it does two types of things. It shows a lot of graphs and pictures to help with the text, and it gives special quotations in certain text in the text to help prove the experiences of the solution he's given. One thing I want to show you here is what he calls a reality check. What this is, and I thought was really cool when I was reading this book, was during the chapter, in the middle of the chapter, all of a sudden you pause and there's a reality check. What that is it's just a few questions or a few statements regarding the information he gave you. And I think that is important. I realize how important that was now, especially because when I'm reading a book, it's like all this information, like I mentioned before, just kind of thrown at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. But the reality check forces you to stop and think about what was given to you. And that's pretty cool because it helps you understand, absorb, and just all around learn about the information. And that's really cool. About the connection, the text holds real life experiences. Like I said before, it gives these special quotation marks. There's italicized stories in this book which actually talk about the experiences Jeff had and the experiences Jeff's employees have had, which is pretty awesome when I read it because it was almost like a story inside of a story. So he's giving you all this information, he's teaching you all this stuff, and then all of a sudden he gives you an example of how it works. And that was pretty cool because I'm a very visual learner, so to speak, but I also learn from others a lot. And I learned from other people making mistakes, myself making mistakes. But when I see if I'm learning something, I can learn it all day long. But if I don't really see how it works or understand, I guess, how to do it, you can learn something, know what it is, know how to do it, but not really know how to do it, right? And these quotations help you learn how to do it, which was pretty cool. And one point definitely was the price point. This text has a very competitive price point that allows students to access the text. I'm a student. I pay for textbooks, and sometimes I don't think teachers really put that into perspective when they make students buy books, right? I'm working full time, right? All these things to pay for, and then I gotta buy textbooks. Oh my gosh. I don't have grants to pay for textbooks. This is coming out of my own pocket. I gotta pay for this $300 textbook? That's crazy. Solution, bingo. Here's a textbook. You're gonna get, it's not even a textbook, excuse me, wrong word. Here's a book that you're gonna get tons of information out of. Tons of bang for your buck because it's only a couple bucks. I mean, it's really only a few dollars. I bought mine and I was actually able to afford it. No problem. So that's a few different things why I think this will be a really great book for you and your curriculum. An example of the graphs that I mentioned before is right here. It as weird as it sounds. Um, books, a lot of times when I'm reading them, you kind of get bored of them because it's just all words. When you break it up and you put pictures or graphs in this case, it breaks things up. It shows you, rather than you having to use your imagination and visualize the information given you, it's actually drawn out to you, and that's pretty cool. Here's a comparison page I wanted to bring up. I wanted to show you. You can take some time to read it. What this is you don't want just another textbook, right? So this is how and why it's not just a typical textbook. I'm not going to go through the whole thing and read it all to you, but just a couple examples. Students, like I mentioned before, can relate to the real life experiences because Jeff Thal lived these. He did all these. This is true stuff. They can see that in this book and feel that in this book. In a textbook, in a traditional textbook, you can't get that because there's, however many authors writing this book. They're just writing all the information that they know that needs to be in this book, putting it in, making the students read it and hoping they absorb it all. This book isn't like that. You'll definitely relate to this book. One thing I want to throw in this presentation was how it's going to be beneficial, not only to you, to your students, but to many, many other people. These are just a few examples of the people that it relates to, that it helps, that it shows how to teach people how to do it. For example, project managers. They're looking to capitalize on competitive strengths and define, create, and quantify the value of their solutions in order to achieve greater sales results. This book helps them do that. It's going to help them do that. If they're struggling and they need help, all they got to do is read this book, and it'll be great. They'll learn it. They'll see the real life achievements by Jeff Thal, and proof is in the pudding, because these tactics that are written in this book, these thoughts, these ideas, these solutions were written in this book by a man who used them and became a CEO of a company. That's how successful these are. So with that, I hope you really have a good perspective of this book, and how I don't want to take too much of your time today, but I really hope that you get a good understanding of how this book is, and I really hope you feel that it is something that you want to look into and that you want to read. And is it something that you want to check out and read and potentially put into your curriculum? I want to give you a chance to read this book and check it out for yourself. And I'd like to follow up with you by the end of next week to see what your thoughts are, to see if you get the same feeling I get from this book. So with that, I hope I can check in with you at the end of next week, and it'll all be good. I'd like to leave you with a brochure of this book. And with this, I want you to just take the time and read it in case you can check out a few different things about this book, and some key points and some big information that I think is important to you. So thank you very much again for taking the time out of your day and giving me a chance to give you this presentation. I hope you have a good day, and thank you, and God bless.